I think doing comedy is an absolute combination of hard work and natural talent, because if you're naturally gifted as a comic, that's great, but you have to work hard to get the gigs. Like, you could be the most talented person in the world, but if you aren't gigging constantly, you aren't going to get to a level where you're going to do well and be seen and earn money from it. The three things I'd say to anyone that wants to go and be a comedian are gig as hard as possible, especially London-based people, because they're like scared to leave the M25. And the further out of London you go, the more you learn. Like, gigging up north is different to gigging in Brighton, to gigging in Wales. It's so interesting, and you learn so much about audiences and how to deal with things. I think that's really important. Write as much as possible, because the more you write, the better you get, and the more you gig, the more you write. Like, it's really healthy to get through as much material as possible and like really work on an amazing kind of set, especially when you're starting out. Like, having a killer 20 minutes is amazing, because you can play any club. And a lot of people make the mistake of writing a new set for every gig when they first start out, whereas I never did that. I was always very much, okay, that bit worked a bit, like how can I make that better? That didn't work at all, get rid of that. Okay, there's a slightly new bit, how can I link it in? And sort of working on a set, and when things work, like sticking to them and like making sure they were molded properly rather than dropping them as soon as I could. Be on it with the admin. Like, I think sometimes I'd be a better agent than I would comedian. There's this real big thing in comedy that living in London is what you need to do. Like, when everyone starts comedy, everyone's like, move to London, move to London, move to London. But I actually don't think it's that healthy, because the thing with London is like the circuit is split. But when you start out in London, you just can very easily get stuck on the open mic circuit where you're just doing 5 minutes. I started with people that are still doing open mic gigs because they're stuck in that little world. And all the London clubs like won't really take you on unless you're doing paid work, like the paid London clubs. So starting out of London was really good, because my first gigs were all like 10 minutes on like little gigs in like little towns where there'd be like 3 professional comedians and they'd have 2 brand new comedians on doing 10 minutes for no money to like, you know, sort of encourage new talent. So I started out doing those gigs, which were like really well attended, really good gigs, like properly set up, whereas a lot of the London open mic stuff wasn't. And I then sort of slowly started to break into London. I kind of skipped out the whole open mic thing because I was doing those gigs and like progressed in those gigs, then came to the London gigs once I'd done the outside ones. So they'd take me on to do 10 minutes so I could prove myself. Quite often though, when you're writing a joke, like tiny things will change if it works or not. So if you have a word in your punchline, you shouldn't put it in the setup. Say the punchline of the joke is, my dad. Like, if you say the word dad in the setup of the joke, the punchline won't work, because you've got like, it's not a surprise anymore. And that's the whole thing with the joke. It's got to be like a surprise or a shock or a reveal. So that kind of helps, like when you're writing, to go, okay, this is a funny idea, but how do I make it like a pullback and reveal, or how do I make it a shock to the audience? Because that's what makes people laugh. I think there's so many different ways to come up with jokes and how to write. Like, everyone's got a different method. Like, I know Lee Mack from interviews and things like that will sit in a room when he's writing a tour. He will do a 9 to 5 of sitting and writing all day. Whereas I'm very like lazy, maybe the word, but I can't do that. I just don't have the attention span. So I'm very much like, I'll be doing something and I'll go, oh, that's quite good. Like, I'll see something, I'll be doing something, I'll go, oh, that's quite a good idea. And I'll just put a note in my phone. And then I sort of build up all these notes over a few weeks, and then I'll go to a new material gig. So there's these gigs around where people just go and try new material, and you literally stand on stage and read them out of your notebook. And there's some things, like, it tends to be the things that I think are brilliant are the things that audiences go, that's awful, like, and won't laugh at. And the things that I think are okay, like, work really well. And there's no kind of science to it. It's genuinely like, you don't really know how it's going to work. I couldn't go on stage and do jokes about being like working class and, you know, like all that kind of stuff, and like talk about my hard upbringing, because it just wouldn't match. And I think people quite often misjudge that, especially when they're new, of going, oh yeah, I'll just talk about that and like create nonsense, but it has to be authentic. Because people have to believe what you're saying, because they're not going to buy into you otherwise. So like, things like that help writing, but I really struggle to find a formula that works for me. Like, I genuinely just have to go and try everything and see what works and what doesn't, and most of it doesn't.